Welcome everybody to the Haas Supplemental Application Q&A for first-year applicants. If you're applying to the Speaker Undergraduate Business Program or the Global Management Program, then you're in the right place. We're so excited to talk to you today, and we're glad that you've chosen to apply to Haas. I'm going to go ahead and let our director, Monique Ellis, take it from here and give the official welcome.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you to all of y'all for joining. We really appreciate your interest in the business major, and we know it takes a lot to be applying to schools, and we have this additional step to get to know you a bit more and your interest in the major. So we really appreciate you going through this process. And so tonight we wanted to provide some support to you and answer any questions that you might have. So we hope that this will be helpful to you, but really just want to do two things. Again, thank you, and also, kind of help you feel a little bit more calm in this process. We really want to underscore here that this is nothing to be like nervous about or super stressed over. It's really meant to be informal in terms of everything that's happening. So we're here to support in this session and afterwards. So please do reach out to us. So I just wanted to give that quick welcome. And then I think we have the land acknowledgement, which I'll also give, which is a practice that we have here at Berkeley. So the Haas School of Business recognizes that UC Berkeley sits on the territory of Huichin, the original landscape of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. This region continues to be of great importance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and other familial descendants of the Verona Band. We recognize that every member of the Berkeley community has and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1868. Consistent with our values of community, inclusion, and diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. As members of the Berkeley Haas community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we stand, but also we recognize the Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. All right, so with that, I'll pass it back to Diana, but thank you again for joining us. We're really excited to be here with you.
Thank you, Monique. So we're going to first start with an introduction to our admissions team. You got to say hello to Monique. I'm Diana Martinez. My pronouns are she, her. I'm one of the associate directors of admissions. You may have seen me in other outreach presentations because that's my focus, outreach. And Asha?
Hi, everyone. My name's Asha Nathaniel. I'm also one of the associate directors on the team, and I primarily focus on operations and evaluation. So I'm more of a behind the scenes person, but it's good to see all of you.
Fabulous. And someone who's not with us tonight is Katie Marshall, pronouns she, her, also an associate director of admissions and focuses on yield and transition. But tonight we have a very special guest with us, a current student. So I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily. I'm currently a senior at Haas. I'm graduating in the spring, class of 2025. And I use a she, her pronouns, and I am actually a GMP student. So I'll get into it later, but I went to London, and I also applied when I was in my last year of high school.
Fabulous. So Emily applied as a first-year applicant, and so she knows what it's like to be in your shoes. So we're excited to hear more from her later today. So let's go ahead and jump right in to a review of the application process to see how far you've come. The first part of the application process is the UC application, and congratulations, you have submitted that and you are that much closer to completing the application process to Berkeley Haas. So the next step is to complete the Haas Supplemental application, and that consists of two more things. We've got one more essay for you that is specific to Haas, and also there is the video interview. Both parts of this supplemental application are mandatory, and we're really excited to learn more from you in these aspects. Also, I would like to share our academic integrity statement about the application. So as you prepare your application and you write your essays, it is acceptable to collaborate with teachers, people you trust, or even AI-based assistant programs. because it's great to have assistance as you brainstorm or do your proofreading process. However, it is expected that any material you submit as a part of your application are your own thoughts, your own individual experiences as well. It's not acceptable to copy and paste content directly from AI-based assistant programs or to use any other content that you did not create. The purpose of the application is for you to showcase your unique and authentic voice and your writing style. And that's just not something that AI tools or other people can provide. So like I said, we're really excited to learn more about you. And that is really the most important part of this application. So please take this into consideration. Please follow this academic integrity. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the Haas Supplemental application itself. So we have the Haas essay. We are really excited to learn more about you. So make sure to be authentic and tell your story. The essay is not a place where you need to be listing your achievements. Instead, it's a place to give us more details about not just the experience, but maybe you want to share more about what you've learned, what your values are, what have you, right? We use the phrase a lot of show, don't tell. And this is essentially what that means is this is not a place where you need to be listing things, right? It's more of show us more about you and how these experiences have shaped you, right? So definitely follow the prompt, right? And be mindful of the word limit. Let's go ahead and go to some more essay tips. These are some things to consider when you're writing your essay and when you're proofreading it, looking it over. Have you addressed the prompt fully? Are there any obvious punctuation, spelling, or grammar errors? Does your essay give a sense of who you are? Does it show your experiences instead of just telling about your experience? Because those two things we really like to see. But some things that we don't really recommend is conveying only what you think the admissions committee wants to hear, right? Simply stating objective facts without describing your experiences in detail. Kind of that goes back to the show, don't tell concept I brought up, right? So those are two things that if you see that your essay is doing that, maybe come back to it and rework it a little. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to Asha so she can share details about the video interview.
Cool, thank you. All right, everyone, so let's discuss. So the video interview is a required component of the supplemental application. It really just is meant to provide applicants with an opportunity to speak on their own behalf. It's important to remember that we're evaluating for content and not your appearance or presentation skills or how you speak. So it's okay to be nervous and that won't affect your evaluation. The video interview will be considered in the evaluation process, but remember that it's not the most significant component of the final decision. Okay, so the logistics piece. So you will not be interviewing one-on-one with an admissions team member, but rather you'll be recording yourself answering a series of questions, and this will take place at any time that's best for you. It's done through the application portal itself. Just make sure to submit the video interview before the deadline on January 3rd. The admissions team will be reviewing your video interview, but there's no need to address the team or thank us for watching. And here's a little bit more about how the interview will work. So after you test your mic and click that you're ready to record or ready to record button, the questions will then pop up on the screen. I believe it's on your left-hand side. You will have 90 seconds to read the questions before the recording starts. You'll show your ID when the recording starts, and then you'll have 6 minutes to answer all 4 questions. You also get 3 attempts, so if something goes wrong during maybe your first or second attempt, you still have a third one. You can take as much time as you need between attempts. You can even log out of the application in between your attempts. But you can only submit the last recording that you made. So if you go through and you use the third attempt, but you're like, oh, I really liked my first attempt better, unfortunately, you'll have to submit just the last recording that you made. Okay, so here's some more details on the logistics and recommendations for starting the interview. So make sure that you feel ready and comfortable and that you're in a good headspace. Inform your family or the people around you that you're about to record your interview. Record in a place with good Wi-Fi connection. And make sure you download the latest version of your internet browser. So I think Google Chrome and Safari are best. You will access this by logging into your Map at Berkeley portal, and then you'll select that Ready to Record button that we'd mentioned earlier. Some additional technical tips: make sure to test your microphone and your camera and give permission for like the browser to access those things. Otherwise, it may not work properly. And yes, next slide. Thanks. And then here is a view of what it will look like when you're accessing from your Map at Berkeley portal. So you'll see the application checklist, and it'll have that Haas video essay, which is referring to the video interview. And then also, I guess I'll just touch quickly, even though we're talking about the video interview, the essay is also available, the supplemental essay is also there under forms. Okay, so we won't be sharing the questions for the video interview here, but here's a few topics that you can kind of prepare to discuss. So the first one is why your experience and passions are a good fit for the business major. Prepare for questions about your character, skills, and leadership. And show your authenticity, intellectual curiosity, leadership potential, motivations, and integrity. Okay, here are a few more tips, but we also want to link our video interview guide, which also has more in-depth information and can be a good resource for you. So I'll just go through the tips really quickly. So the first one is be authentic. Don't read from a scripted response. Practice telling your story out loud and provide examples of your qualities or experiences. Also, dress in a way that makes you feel most comfortable and confident. So there's no need to dress up. If you feel your best in sweats, please wear that. Next slide. Okay, so this slide is a reminder that this isn't something that's meant to be scary or serious. It's really meant to be casual, as if you're chatting with a friend about why you think business at Berkeley suits Berkeley Haas. Suits you and the things that you've done that make you feel proud. And yeah, we're excited to get to know you. So please keep this in mind while you're going through the process. Okay, so the due date for the supplemental application is January 3rd, 2025. But we highly recommend submitting this at least a few days before the deadline, just in case you run into any technical issues. We want you to have time to reach out to us so we can help you troubleshoot before the deadline. So please note that our office closes at 4 p.m. on January 3rd. So we can't answer any emails or assist you after 4 p.m. on January 3rd. So please plan for this. Okay, some additional notes. Our software is running on Eastern Standard Time. So if you go to check your, submitted application and it says January 4th, don't worry. It's just because the time difference there. It also takes a little while for things to update in the system, like the checklist on your portal. So If you know that you submitted something and the green check mark doesn't show up, no worries. Just check back in a couple of days to make sure. Okay, so now we're going to move into the frequently asked questions component. I'm going to take the first question. So, will my supplemental essay be read separately from the personal insight questions on the UC app? The answer to this is no. We'll be reading applications in their entirety. So that means both the UC part and the supplemental part. And I'll pass it to Diana for the next question.
Thanks, Asha. So the next question is, should I repeat certain details or facts that I already mentioned in the UC app on the supplemental application? And my answer to that is you can repeat things from your UC app, but expand upon it, because we will be seeing your UC application. We'll be reading your personal insight questions, and we'll see everything, your activities and awards, all that. So while you can repeat things, if you do that, give us more detail, give us a little more. So I'll turn it over to Monique to answer the next two questions.
Thank y'all. All right, so the next couple questions are, is more weight given to the supplemental essay than the rest of the essays or the PIQs? No, we look at them as a whole. It's a holistic review. Should I introduce myself in the interview or thank the admissions team in the end? As Asha said, there's not really a need to. If you want to say hello, or if that's part of, who you are and your personality and you want to display that, definitely do that, but you don't have to do that. We know it's a stressful time and it's hard to, remember to do things. So, just do what you need to do. But if you want to say hi to us, that's cool too. And I'll pass it back to Diana.
Fabulous. Thank you all. And now we would like to have Emily join and share a little bit about her experience and, perhaps give you some sage advice on how to feel comfortable with this next part of the application.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. So just as a reminder, my name is Emily. I use the she, her pronouns, and I'm in the global management program. So I went to London like 2 years ago, actually, and I'm the class of 2025, graduating in spring. And yeah, for me, when I actually applied in my last year of high school, I didn't really know I even had to do a supplemental essay. So that was kind of a surprise to me. But I really just wrote about why I wanted to be in GMP at Haas and why my experience kind of tied into it and how I've done previous, like activities, and why I wanted to pursue a career in business, but also more like international business. And in my video, it is quite a nervous situation to be in. I remember I kind of just went in not knowing what to expect, and then I actually only recorded it once. I didn't do a second try. I didn't want to hear myself, so I just clicked submit. I was like, whatever, it's okay. But I think that really said a lot about just how, my personality is, and how I can't really read something from a script. I want it to just be kind of natural and organic in that way. And I just once again talked about specifically why I want to be in an international business program, and how, like, for me personally, I wrote about how I want to use my different language skills when I'm in, like a career in the near future, how I want to use that to, kind of close gaps between like things that I've seen in the world, things like that. And so I think what helped me is just to be true to myself, write about why I wanted to be specifically a Haas, and then I kind of also incorporated some of the pillars at Berkeley Haas and how I'm able to visualize that in my own essays. And I think one thing that I also really did well is in my essays, I kind of wrote like a big picture, and then I was able to really add on my video. And so yeah, I can go more into details about my essay, but essentially I think one thing that was well about it is I made a situation. There was like a story for each essay. That way it wasn't the same story once again. It was just more of adding on to my own personality. And yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them or give advice on what else to do for the essay or video.
Emily, and that's great examples of how like Emily wrote about herself really, and wasn't really concerned with what we wanted to hear more, just really wanted to share more about her passions and experiences, and that was fabulous. So just remember, there's no right or wrong answer. Just as long as you're answering the prompt and being authentic, then we're happy to see that. So before we jump into the Q&A section, I wanted to give you our contact information. Do not hesitate to reach out to us during this time. We've got our email, which is probably the fastest way to get a hold of us, either through email or from calling our office during office hours. I do want to make a note that we are going to be closed on December 11th and also December 21st through January 1st, but then we will open again, but will be remote from January 2nd until January 15th. So while we're remote, we will have access to email. We won't be at our phones, but we will have our virtual front desk for those last 2 days of the supplemental application. So if you're running into some issues or you have last minute questions, go ahead and join our virtual front desk. The link and everything will be available at that time on our events and advising webpage. So without further ado, we'd like to thank you for being here, and now we will answer your questions. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A feature. We will prioritize questions that are in the Q&A, and also you have the ability to upvote questions. So maybe take a glance at the questions that have already been asked, and you can actually upvote that question if you have the same exact question. So we'll prioritize the upvoted questions. So Monique will go ahead and read those questions out loud, and then we will answer.
Sweet. All right, we got a bunch of questions. So the first one is for the video interview. When you start a new attempt, do the question change? And a similar question is, will the questions be the same for every attempt?
Yes, I can take that one. The answer is yes, it'll be the same questions. So yeah.
Awesome. If I log out after one attempt, will the questions that I'm asked on the second, okay, same thing, same vibes. But if you log out, does it change your questions?
No, it's the same questions.
All right, thank you. That's a popular question. Let's see here. Okay. What if my Haas supplemental essay, I'm assuming, is similar to the one of my PIQs? Is that okay?
That is okay, but do make sure that it's different enough. Like I said earlier, for the FAQs, like you can talk about the same experience or give similar examples, but since we are reading your PIQs as well, do what you can to expand upon that, maybe share a different perspective, or like if there's more details, in some way expand upon that.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, a logistics question. Are you able to rewatch your interview attempt before submitting?
I believe that you can, yes. You can watch it before you submit.
Awesome, thank you. All right, to clarify, there's no time deadline in between video attempts, meaning I can film one video attempt today, and if I'm unsatisfied, I can attempt another take tomorrow. All right, see some nods, so that's a yes. Okay, you mentioned that we can take as much time as we need between. All right, same thing. My bad. All right. You are okay. When answering the questions in the video, should I state the question before answering it?
No, you don't have to do that because we know the order of the questions. If it makes you feel more comfortable, you can, but it's just you're timed, so you might not want to do that.
Cool. I'll also add I mean, you can answer the questions in any order that you want, but when you answer it, be sure that you're clear in your response so that we can, determine what question you're answering. Okay. The instructions in the video interview say that we will be given 90 seconds to prep a response for the questions given. Will the 6-minute timer be paused?
Yes, so the 6-minute timer starts when you press like you're ready to record. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much for all the insights. They had 2 questions. We already answered the first one. Since we can take as much time, oh no, where'd it go? Since we can take as much time as we want in between attempts, does this mean we have unlimited time to prepare? And thank you.
Great question. So it's not quite unlimited because you still have to turn it in by January 3rd. But yeah, in between attempts, just as long as you get that video interview recorded and submitted by January 3rd, you can take as much time as you need, right? So like if you did an attempt tonight, you could take a couple weeks to get it in, right? To do your second attempt and to prepare in between attempts. I recommend trying to get it submitted at least a couple days early though, just in case.
Awesome, thank you. We got a question here for you, Emily. Got some fans. Hi, Emily. I wanted to ask your previous business experience when you were applying. I'm really excited to learn more about business, but I'm not sure whether to emphasize my values or my business experience.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was able to kind of put both of them into one picture. When I was doing my supplemental essay and interview, I wrote about technically like a business that I kind of did. I would sell, I'm a really huge like K-pop fan, so I would sell these albums that I would purchase initially, but I would resell them. And this was the time of the presidential election. So what I did is, in order to kind of help fund the USPS, I would purchase a lot of stamps in bulk and then like also use multiple in the same envelope just to help with that like funding of the USPS. And so in that way, it was doing both. It was like ensuring that people were able to vote in ballot like through mail, because it was time of COVID. So just ensuring that my community has a voice in that way, but also, starting an own business and trying to get into the business world. So I was kind of doing both. And I think I also volunteered at the presidential elections. And so I wrote about that as well. So it's like I was able to do both into one. I don't think you need to separate them, but so far that was my only really like business experience, or like official business experience. Everything else was more of my values, my kind of personality, and what I wanted to dive deeper into as I grow up.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got another question for you. Hi, Emily. Uh, would love to know your essay, if your essay mentions specific experiences or more about big picture and how your video interview added to your essay.
Yeah, for sure. So, the 4 PAQs, I basically kind of weave them into one big picture. The first one that I wrote about was about like the business I just mentioned, making and like funding the USPS, as well as volunteering at the presidential elections. The second one was if I remember correctly, how I was in this program to learn Korean, but it turned virtual. And so how I was able to kind of make use of the time and really take advantage of the resource that I was given. And I think I actually pulled my essays up. Let me look to real quick. But oh, the other one was also of another program where I was learning Arabic from Arabic speaking refugees. And it was a program that would employ refugees who were, like in dangerous situations. And I think another one was something similar like that. But essentially, that's how my essays kind of did like this big picture of me and how I wanted to go more into kind of like languages, and using that into business career. And being able to perhaps use those type of languages for client relationship management or anything that's really client facing. And then my essay was more about the why. I made more of a direct connection of what I want to do in business. And that's where I wrote about, perhaps doing something like consulting or really focusing on the client management, client relationship building, and as well as why I want to be in a program where you would study abroad. And at the time, my study abroad destination was London, and so why that would be very pivotal for me to grow as a person, but also grow as a student. And so in that way, I kind of, with every essay, I kind of build more and more about my personality. And then in the video, I was able to really make that direct connection with why Berkeley Haas and why GMP specifically.
Awesome. Thank you. You're so cool. You do such cool things. All right. Does the video interview have a timer on which you prepare and respond?
Yes. So it's the timer starts, and then you have 6 minutes to do all your questions in that 1 6-minute recording. And right at the 6-minute mark, it stopped automatically. So just to be clear, you want to answer all of the questions in that 1 6-minute recording. You don't get space to stop in between answering each of your questions.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. The next question is, can we find the questions for the essay and video interviews prior?
Unfortunately, we will not be sharing those in this session, but you can certainly, if you have access to the supplemental, go ahead and check it out.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. What are some qualities within an applicant that Haas is looking for or not looking for? What are some things students should avoid talking about?
Oh, this is great. So the first thing I want to say is because I also saw this in another question. So a lot of students think, oh, if I talk about Haas and list Haas classes I want to take, or mention the professors I want to study with and talk about them, then they'll think that I've done my research and I know Haas really well. Well, I will just say, we know you know Haas really well, and we're excited that you want to apply. The essay and the video interview are not times where you want to talk about Haas. They're times you want to talk about yourself. So we want to learn about you. We know about Haas. We like it here. That's why we work here. We like our classes and our professors. And that's why we want to share that info with you so that you apply. So what we don't know about is you. We want to know more about you. So definitely take advantage of that space to talk about you. Also, that kind of goes to, it's wonderful if you've been inspired by another person to get into business, but just don't talk too much about the other person, right? Use that space to talk about you. Other things you should avoid, of course, plagiarism. Please do not plagiarize. And also just a reminder of what I mentioned about maybe I guess what I would say is concentrate on discussing yourself and your experiences. Don't worry about what we want to hear. As long as you're answering the prompt, whatever you share with us is what we want to hear. We want to hear about you. So I don't know if Monique and Asha, you want to add anything that I forgot to say?
Yeah, I think you did a good job in covering that. I just want to underscore that first piece. We're not looking for you to give us a summary about Haas. We want you to do your research in that if you find out that Haas is a good fit for you, but not because you need to put all those facts into your essay or your video interview. So make sure you're doing that. And as you're researching, you'll come across, as Emily referenced, our defining leadership principles. Please don't say, I align with beyond yourself and da 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 da. Like Diana said, show not tell. So tell us, use the space to tell us about how you've given back to your community, like Emily did, and she told us about, buying all the stamps. Love that, and making sure that her community had access to be able to vote, and then also that she was supporting the USPS. We love that. So do that instead of saying beyond yourself is great, and I do it this way. Okay, Asha or Emily, did you have anything to add? Otherwise, I'll move on. All right, fantastico. All right, so this is admissions question. If I get rejected for my first choice major, which is speaker, will I be considered for my second major?
Good question. So if you're applying to the four-year pathway, unfortunately, if you're not admitted to the program, you wouldn't be admitted to UC Berkeley. If you're applying to the GMP program, those folks are automatically considered for LNS. So yeah, there's still opportunity there. But in terms of alternate major, I don't think either of those are considered.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, do you get 90 seconds to prep for each question or for all questions at once?
You get 90 seconds to prep for all questions at once. So once that 90 seconds is up, the recording starts and you got to answer all four of the questions in your 6 minutes. And I did see a related question. Somebody asked about how much time should we give each question when you're answering it. I'd say about a minute, but just as long as you answer them all within that 6 minutes, then you're good.
Cool, thank you. Two similar questions. Can you pause the interview, in between questions? And also, do you get all of the questions at once?
Yep. So you are not able to pause the interview between questions. You can only pause like between attempts. And then the second one, I'm sorry,
you get all 4 questions at once?
Yeah. Yeah, you get all of the questions all at once.
Okay, thank you. What do you mean by showing your ID? What ID, and do we say our ID or do we write it down and show it? What's the deal?
Oh, yes, we mean a photo issued ID. So at the start of, once your recording starts, maybe you have a school ID or a driver's license or a passport or some sort of an ID. Doesn't have to be government issued, but it should have your photo. And just show it up to the camera at the very beginning and then get started with your questions. That way we know that it's you answering the questions.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is, can you restart an attempt while doing it, or do you have to go through the full attempt to get a chance to restart?
That's a good question. I don't think you can restart once you're already like in that attempt. I don't know what happens if you like X your whole browser, but maybe just like plan on using the attempt fully once you start.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, do you recommend talking about how I see myself at Berkeley and the things I look forward to doing there in the essay, or is it recommended to speak more about my business interests?
This is maybe kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about like Berkeley and Haas, like use your time to talk about you more so than you would talk about Berkeley or Haas and the things you want to do while you're here, right? So I recommend talking more about you and answering the prompt.
Awesome, thank you. I'm gonna actually pause real quick and ask Emily a question, because you said this last time. I thought it was really helpful. A strategy that you said you utilize in your essays is the STAR method. Can you talk
Correct.
a bit about that?
Yeah, so STAR method essentially is this great like interviewing tip that I use a lot. You start off with stating the situation, and then so you talk about the task that you were given, as well as the action that you did, and then the most important type of the whole part is the results as well. So you can start off this by saying situation. When I was in my class, my high school English class, right, I had the task of showing around a Korean visiting exchange class about what what American English classroom setting was like. And as a result, well, the action that I did was, I went above and beyond. Not only did I welcome them in and tell them a little bit about how it is at my school in English, but I also went and kind of went out of my comfort zone. I spoke to them in a little bit in Korean, just to really understand and show my appreciation towards them of, traveling all the way to the US. And as a result, I was able to make last longing friendships with them, and I still talk to them to this day. So that's some of like an example of, something that shows kind of like initiative and the encouragement that you've done, and as well as the most important is like the result, like what happened afterwards as well. And that's something that I've used in any really sort of interview setting. And so it says, it's really important to kind of show what you did and what happened as a result of that.
Awesome. Thank you. That's very helpful. Okay, back to the regular programming. Will Berkeley or Haas request supplemental letters of recommendation? If asked by Berkeley to submit a letter of rec, would the letter of rec be another data point to help with admission to speaker?
Great question. So we don't require letters of recommendation at Haas. If you see Berkeley ask for that, that's just something the main office of undergraduate admissions sees. Unless I'm wrong, Monique, we don't see those letters of recommendation. Is that correct? Okay. The Office of Undergraduate Admission will need that, not us.
All right, got another question for maybe Emily, but also Diana and Asha. Do you have any tips for pacing yourself within the 6 minutes to ensure you have enough room to answer each question, but also go into enough detail?
That is an interesting question. For me, I just kind of made sure to answer all of them. Kind of like in one paragraph, I kind of made all the questions into one since it is one interview. But I just went into detail in the parts where I wanted to emphasize something. So in my interview for the supplemental essay, well, the virtual interview, I mainly talked about how I was wanting to study abroad and how I was in this program to learn a different language and actually study abroad, but because of COVID, it got turned down. However, all the other points kind of covered the question. And so I think it's just as long as you're able to hit all of them, should be good. I also had ample time at the end. I don't think I used all the minutes. I probably used like 5 out of 6. I didn't go all the way. I think as long as you answer all of them and you feel confident with that, it should be fine. You don't have to use all of the time that is, allocated.
Awesome, thank you, Emily. Diana or Asha, any thoughts?
Those are great. Absolutely fabulous advice. I guess the one thing I really want to emphasize is like there are no wrong answers, especially for like the video interview. There's that. And also just know I see a lot of questions about like if I mess up, can I restart? Like just remember that it's okay to, mess up. It's okay to stumble over your words. We're not going to evaluate you on like the way you present. Just make sure you're in a good headspace before you do your essay or your video interview, and that you're using your self-care tips to ensure that you feel good and confident. And being nervous is normal; it's totally okay. But just remember, it's just us. We're people like you, and we're excited to get to know you.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you again, Emily. And I'll just also say, like, don't feel like you need to jam a lot of detail and information into your responses. Like one thing Emily said is you don't need to use all the time. It's okay if you don't use the full 6 minutes. You're not going to be penalized for that. But yeah, don't feel like you need to tell us your whole life story in 6 minutes. It's impossible. So we know what we're asking of you is maybe challenging, but push yourself a little bit. But also, you just come as you are. Something that I did that was helpful for something else I was working on is use that voice to text feature on Google Docs and answer your questions there and then time yourself. And then you can revise the text and get yourself down if I spent 7 minutes on all 6 or however many questions you asked you and kind of trim and edit there. That being said, don't script, but obviously, you need to get your thoughts out. So, just try speaking it to yourself, to somebody else. I think that's also helpful too. All right. I know you've mentioned this before, but if we could include a description on our involvement in business in one of our PIQs, would you recommend that we expand a different specific experience we discuss something that wasn't mentioned earlier in the Haas essay?
Yes. So yeah, if you're going to include some of the same topics, definitely try to expand and yeah, try to maybe discuss a different part of it that wasn't mentioned earlier. It's a good idea.
Okay. If I submitted my UC app December 1st, what's a rough estimate of when I'll get my supplemental application?
Maybe Asha has a more exact answer, but I would say it is already early December. So if you don't receive it by this, if you don't receive access by this weekend, maybe reach out to us, but make sure you're checking your Map at Berkeley portal, because you'll see it there. Make sure you're checking your email and your spam folder. And if by Monday you haven't gotten it, go ahead and reach out.
All right. Are the video interview questions to the program you're applying for different? For example, would a GMP applicant be asked about their interest in that specific program?
Yes, the questions are program specific.
Okay. Thank you, Asha. Can we switch from speaker to GMP or vice versa after submitting the UC app?
I believe you can. There is a way to switch on your portal, but you got to do it before the Haas Supplemental application is due. So do it before January 3rd. As soon as you realize you want to switch that, go ahead and go on your Map at Berkeley portal, and there's like a change of major request that you can do.
Hi, sorry. I just wanted to emphasize really quick that it is a request, so it may not be like an automatic thing. So just keep that in mind.
All right. Here's a question for Emily. Back to the fan club. What's a piece of advice you wish you could give yourself when you were a freshman at Haas?
I think for me, it'd be to have more confidence in myself, but also to reach out to kind of like the network I have. So I was in GMP, right? So I had a lot of seniors in that cohort as well as the cohort that I'm currently in. And as I went through the years, I realized that using my network there was so valuable. I was able to ask so many questions to them about, like their advice on my classes, the classwork, working in teams, things like that. And I think it really helped me to succeed, not only in school, but also even for interviewing for internships or jobs. And in that same way, I think the confidence also helped me to just be more, yeah, like courageous and confident in myself, knowing that I deserve to, like I got into Haas, like I know I deserve that spot, things like that, like to believe in myself. Yeah, and if I could go back and give that to myself when I was a first year, I definitely would.
Thank you, Emily. That's very helpful for all of us. All right. Another question for you, Emily. What aspects of Haas drew you in? What programs, opportunities, experiences at Haas have you enjoyed the most?
Yeah, so initially what drew me into Haas specifically is like the location itself. Haas is a really big like ranked business school, and so it has a really big uh what's the word? It's really rigorous, but also pretentious school. And the location itself being in the in the Bay Area, or surrounded by a lot of tech companies, things like that. I feel like it just had a lot of value to me as well as the exit that I could have once I graduated. And one of the best or memorable experiences of being at Haas has definitely been the case competitions that are open towards third and fourth years at Haas. And so I actually just came back from Australia last month, where I was able to go to Australia totally for free, expense all by Haas, and network with other business schools from around the world, literally from Hong Kong, Thailand, Australia, the UK, things like that, and also kind of gain more skills on communication, presentation skills, and being able to present in front of, like CEO of companies, things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Yeah, we have some great speakers who come and speak in our Dean Speaker Series here. And also, it was 64 degrees today in December, so you can't beat that. All right, a question for the team. What's your most memorable interview? And I'll just go quickly. I don't have a memorable one because I looked at so many now, but I'll just say the ones that really memorable to me are ones where students really come across and show their personality. So really throw the script out. We want to see who you are. Be playful. Be throw in a joke if that's who you are. You don't have to be rote and serious about it. We are not a serious business school where we're ranked high, but we're also ranked high in fun and and just taking ourselves not seriously. So I'll pass it to Josh and Diana.
Yeah, I would say something very similar. I've seen a lot of video interviews at this point, but I think the ones that really stood out were the ones that folks kind of got creative with. I think sometimes folks like will have a typical answer. So if you can challenge yourself to kind of think outside the box, that's awesome. I'll pass it to Diana.
To me, the folks who stand out are people who give a specific example, like a concrete example. Now, having said that, you don't necessarily have to do it that way. And you only have 6 minutes, so don't feel like you have to give a bunch of examples or go way too far into depth. But it's really cool to see like a specific thing, like when you answer a question to answer it and then say, for example, I did this. You don't have to do it that way, but that's something I've noted.
All right, thank y'all. We have just a few minutes left, so be sure to vote your favorite questions. Let's see here. I'll pick maybe one more or two more or speed run some of these. In the video, is it ideal to answer each question individually, or can we answer multiple questions at once through one set of commentary?
I think I would.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, okay. You want to answer them all in that 6-minute session. I see a lot of the questions are asking that same question. So in your 6 minutes, answer them all.
Yes, thank you. I'll also just clarify I think you were asking if you can use like one response to answer a couple questions. Please don't do that. The questions are different enough that you shouldn't, cover the ground in terms of the questions with one response. So yeah, please just take time to answer each. All right. Let's see. All right, this is a good question. Hello. Would you recommend recording from a mobile device or a computer, or are both equally easy to use on the website?
That's a great question. I think we're most familiar with it being done on a computer, just only because of like the microphone and camera accessibility, but I believe that you still can access it through a mobile device.
Thank you, Asha. Yeah, if you have access to it, please do it on a laptop or a computer. That's going to be easiest. All right. For the supplemental essay, when you talk about the impact you want to make on the world, should you talk about a specific industry or a goal or a general big picture impact?
Oh, good question. So we don't expect you to have all your goals or all your career options formulated in your mind yet. If you do, and you want to talk about like, oh, I have this specific career path I want to go into, that's great, but you don't have to. So it's okay if you want to go more big picture or broad we don't expect you to already know what you want to do. But it was cool to hear you ask about making a big impact in the world. That's fabulous. That kind of goes along with one of our DLPs, Beyond Yourself. So great.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, to close this out, we have just a minute left. So I'm just going to ask the panel here to give us a piece of advice.
I can start us off. So I think my piece of advice is really to strongly consider what Diana had said about submitting your application a little bit earlier, because we really do want to be able to help you if you run into any issues. You know, we don't like being the people who are like, no, we can't really do anything. So consider that if you can.
I would just say, honestly, my biggest piece of advice is if your question wasn't answered tonight, please contact us, right? Or we have another Q&A session next Thursday. It'll be the same thing, but do not hesitate to reach out to us, and reach out to us early before the last day.
Anything from you, Emily?
Yeah, I quickly wanted to just say good luck on, completing the supplemental app. And it's okay if you're a little nervous. I definitely was. I definitely stuttered a lot in my interview, but it's important to just know your why, like why you want to go to this school and what you want to do essentially. And I think that's what is really going to translate to the academic advisors as well.
Awesome. Thank you all. And I'll also just say, be confident in who you are. Like, we get to learn about you, but it's also you get to make the decision if you want to come here or not. So you can have a little bit of swagger knowing about that. So don't take this too seriously, and please do reach out to us. And like I said, don't believe anything on Reddit. We have the answers. Please don't ask the internet. Ask us.
Okay, well, thank you all so much. Like I said, you can reach out to us if your question wasn't answered tonight. And I hope you all have a fabulous winter, and good luck with your applications, and go big.